Hey folks, Pastor Sean coming to you with today's daily devotion. We are talking this week about Jonah. So take a little time, read the book of Jonah. It's only 4 chapters. It won't take you long to read through that. Jonah chapter 1, verse 1 through 3 gives the basic story of what happens in the first part of the story of Jonah. The Bible says that Jonah received a word from the Lord, a message from the Lord to go to Nineveh. Get up and go to Nineveh and cry out against that great city and tell them that my judgment is coming. And the Bible says in verse 3, Jonah went in the opposite direction. He went down to Tarshish, found a boat, bought a ticket, got on the boat, set sail for Tarshish, going in the opposite direction. Today's message is very, very simple. You cannot run from God. God knows where you are all the time. You know, Psalms 139 is a very favorite passage of mine. I have it on my phone to where I can listen to it while I sleep, and it just repeats it over about 4 or 5 times an hour. And it reads the chapter to me again and again while I'm asleep. And it says, where can I go from your presence? Where can I flee from your spirit? If I ascend into heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in hell, you're there. If I take the wings of the morning and fly to the uttermost parts of the sea, behold, you are there. Your right hand holds me. And so we cannot run from God. I spent many, many years trying my best to avoid the call to preach. The Lord called me to preach when I was very young, and I did everything I could to get out of that calling, and it didn't work, but I ran from God. I ran from God for several years and was miserable because of it. I wasn't the only one who was miserable. My wife and kids, my family were miserable as well because they knew that I was running from God. Jonah does the same thing. He hears the voice of the Lord. Now understand this. He had a great relationship with God because God speaks directly to him. He hears the voice of the Lord. He knows his mission. He's been sitting on the sidelines, and God says, get up and go to Nineveh. And he says, you know what? I'm going this way. I'm going in the opposite direction. And the Bible says that that's exactly what he did. He went in the opposite direction, went down, got on a boat, headed to Tarshish. Now, you know the rest of the story, and we'll talk about that a little later in this week. But here's my point today. You cannot run from God. You'll be miserable. You'll be desolate. You'll be alone. You'll be forgotten because God is sending you one way and you're trying to go the other. Why run from God? If God takes the time to speak into your life, then he wants to do something through you and with you. So don't go in the opposite direction. If God tells you, hey, it's time for you to go to this church and plug in, get up and go plug in. You know, Sunday we talked about loyalty. At Irwin Hill, we talked about the loyalty of being plugged in, the loyalty of being at one place for an extended period of time, the loyalty of saying, God, whatever you want me to do, I'm willing to do. Wherever you want me to go, I'm willing to go. We talked about Ruth, how she said to Naomi, wherever you go, I'll go. Wherever you stay, I will stay. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Where your people will be my people and your God will be my God. That is loyalty. And running from God is not loyal at all. It's the exact opposite. It is disobedience in its purest form. And that's not what God's looking for. God is looking for those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. Those who will stand up and say, Lord, here am I, send me. And Jonah had been sitting on the sidelines for a long time. He was the handmaiden, or the hand servant. He wasn't a handmaiden. He was the hand servant of Elijah. And when his attitude proved to be unfaithful, he got put on the back burner. He was there helping the sons of the prophets build the house when the axe head fell in the water and floated and swam over to the side. He had seen the miracles of God. He saw the fire fall on Mount Carmel. He saw all of the great things that God was doing, and he wanted that as well. But when it came time to get in the game, he went in the opposite direction. Don't be like Jonah. When God speaks to you, listen. Perk up your ears and say, "Here am I, Lord. Send me." I love you. I'm praying for you. I believe God's going to do great things in your life this week, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. God bless you as always, is my prayer.